So, guys, welcome to today's episode of Living Out Forex Academy. We are going to be talking about support and resistance support and resistance flip. Guys, it's more or less like, I told you guys that please, if you know you don't understand what market structure are, please, I want you to go back to my videos and make sure that you watch and understand. It's more or less like make sure you understand what market structure are. Market structure are very, very important. So guys, let's dive into the chart. So guys, first of all, we're going to start with support and resistance. I taught you guys that market structure is actually the bedrock of every trading strategy. Now, I taught you guys that market structure is actually the movement of the market. Now, when it comes to support and resistance, like I said, before you understand what support and resistance are, you must first of all make sure that you understand what market structure are. Now, first of all, ask yourself, what are support and resistance? Support or resistance, support and resistance, support and resistance. Just as the name implies, support and resistance. And mind you guys, another name for support and resistance simply means support. So, guys, first of all, ask yourself, what are resistance? Just as the name implies, resistance, resistance, resistance. It's more or less like any high you see on the chart. So it's more or less like, I taught you guys that all these names are actually, all of them are actually the same. I don't want all these names to confuse you guys. I don't know if I'm making sense. Resistance simply means any high you see on the chart. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's just like something is holding something. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's just like more or less like a ceiling. I don't know if I'm making sense. Any highs you see on the chart is more or less a resistance, while any lows you see on the chart is more or less a support. You can also call it a floor. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. So it's actually very, very simple. Now, I want to show you guys something on the chart real quick. Please pay good attention to me. I want to show you guys something on the chart real quick. Now, if you look at this chart now, you'll see that we have this low down here. We have this low down here. We have this low down here. We have this high up here. We have this high up here. We have this high up here. We have this low down here. We have this low down here. We have this high up here. and we also have this high up here. So now pay good attention to me. All these highs I just highlighted, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, they are more or less like a resistance. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's more or less like it's just like something is holding something, a ceiling. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's just like any highs you see on the chart. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, when it comes to a support simply means a low. All these lows down here, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, sorry, this guy, and this guy, they're more or less like a support zone. I don't know if I'm making sense. Support simply means any lows you see on the chart. You can also call it a floor, but I would say that name is just like an odd name. I don't know if I'm making sense. Good. So these are actually what support and resistance are. I don't want to make this hard for you guys. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, when it comes to support and resistance flip, now I also want to tell you guys something. Remember, I taught you guys that on my previous video, I taught you guys that when it comes to zones, you're using your zones or picking up your zones on this market based off on my own personal observation on this market for a very long time. I'm gonna tell you guys that I support and resistance flip. I don't use them. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't use them based off on my own personal experience. Support and resistance flip, they don't usually work. I don't know if I'm making sense. They don't usually work. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm just teaching you guys for you guys to have ideas or to know how it looks like. I don't know if I'm making sense. Good. So now let's dive into support and resistance flip. First of all, what are support and resistance flip? Support and resistance flip, just as the name implies, flip zones, flip zones, flip zones. Support and resistance flip simply means when support level turns to resistance level. So guys, let's continue. First of all, ask yourself this question. What are support and resistance flip? Just as the name implies, flip zones, flip zones. Flip zones, when it comes to you using your flip zones on this market, let's say we have something like this. Remember, I taught you guys what market structure are. And please, if you don't understand what market structure are, go back to my videos and make sure you understand what market structure are. So now let's say we have something like this. We have this bad guy to the upside. We have this higher low. So remember, I told you guys that when there's this we have this break of structure to the upside, yeah, that's the body of a candlestick closes above this previous guy to the upside. We have this break of structure. Now, remember that remember that we have this resistance zone to the upside. I taught you guys that resistance simply means any high you see on the chart. This guy, can you see it? This high, this high, this high, they are all resistance. I don't know if I'm making sense. Good. That's how it is. Now we have this high. This high up here is a resistance level. Now, in a scenario where bear market comes and take out this resistance to the upside, automatically, it has turned to a support level. I don't know if I'm making sense. These are what flip zones are on the market. I don't know if I'm making sense. These are what flip zones are on the market. Now, remember that zone you highlighted, That zone you highlighted has automatically turned to your zone. That level, this level you highlighted has automatically turned to your zone. Now, this is what you'll be watching out for. You'll be expecting the market to come back to this same zone, retest this same zone, then you take your buys to the upside. Let's say we have something like this, market touches this your zone, we have something like this, you target this high to the upside, we have something like this, and you target your stop loss just a few pips below this level. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I actually don't trade like this. I don't know if I'm making sense. Good, I'm just more or less like I'm teaching you guys just in case you come across it. I don't know if I'm making sense. Guys, so let's divert. It's just like the inverse. You using it in a downtrend, just like the inverse. We have this low, we have this lower high. So remember that this low down here, this is your support zone. I remember I taught you guys that zone, levels, point of interest, areas of interest. Please, all these things are the same. I don't want all these names to confuse you guys. I don't know if I'm making sense. Good. So now, in a scenario where market come and take out this support level to the downside, remember I told you guys that you can also call it a low, a support. You can also call it a floor. I don't know if I'm making sense. Why a resistance? You can also call it a high. You can also call it a ceiling. I don't know if I'm making sense. So in a scenario where market come and take out, that's the bottom of a candlestick, closes below this previous low, closes below this support level to the downside, automatically it has turned to a resistance level. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, this has automatically turned to your zone. This has automatically turned to your zone. Now, as a trader you are, as a smart trader you are, this is what you'll be watching out from the market. You'll be expecting market to push up, retest this same level, then pick yourself to the downside. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. And guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. So that's it for support and resistance flip. Now, guys, let me show you guys some instance on the chart. So guys, let me show you guys something on the chart real quick. So if you guys look at this chart we have right here on this chart, we have this low to the downside. Remember, I told you guys that the only thing that classifies a break of structure is once the body of a candlestick closes below the previous low. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. Once the body of a candlestick closes below the previous low, that is the only time you can call it a break of structure. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, if you observe as a smart trader you are, the market pushed up, created this short lower high. The market pushed down again. Now I want you guys to see the magic. The market pushed down again. Why? Now, I told you guys that the only thing that classifies a break of structure is that the body of a candlestick must close below the previous low. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, mind you, this low down here is also called a support zone. It's also called a support zone. Please, I just want you to highlight the wicks. Let me change this color. It's also called a support zone. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, as a smart trader you are, in a scenario where market come and take out this low to the downside, automatically this support zone has turned to a resistance zone. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, this is what you'll be watching out for. The next time market comes down, it returns this same level to the upside. Pick your trade and ride it to the downside. Because I don't know if I'm making sense. Your entry somewhere around here, then your SL just a very few pips above this level. Guys, can you see my chart? Good. But I remember I told you guys that me personally, I actually don't trade like this. I don't know if I'm making sense. I actually don't trade like this. So let's say now you executed your trade somewhere around there. This should be your entry point. And let's say your trade was was running like a profit of so amount of money. The scenario where market come and like let's say if you use something like a break even on this trade, the market might take out your break even. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. So I personally don't trade like this. I'm just teaching you guys how it looks like. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. So when this is just like a downtrend, it's the same thing with an uptrend. It's just like the same thing with an uptrend. Guys, can you see it? It's just like the same thing with an uptrend. We have this high up here. This high up here is also called the resistance zone. You can also call it a ceiling or a high. They're all the same thing, guys. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. Good. So now, in the scenario where market come and take out this resistance, take out this resistance, automatically it has turned to a support zone. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, your entry should be that same level market broke to the upside. This level, guys, can you see my screen? Good. That should be your same level you should use as your zone or something like that. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now, in the scenario market come and take like retest that same level, you take your trade and ride it to the upside. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. So that's just it. But for me, as an experienced trader I am on this market, I think the reason why this particular trade right here, the reason why this particular trade didn't play out is because if you take a closer look at this chart now, this chart we have all over here now, this chart we have all over here now, this is a ranging market. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. This is more or less like a ranging market. That's the reason why I might say that this is the reason why this one didn't work out. I don't know if I'm making sense. But if you use it something like in a clear trend or yeah, clear trend, it should work out. But guys, I'm not gonna tell you to trade like this or something like that. I don't know if I'm making sense. I personally I don't trade like this. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm just trying to tell you guys how it looks like. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm just trying to tell you guys how it looks like. Most of the times, guys, most of the times, most of the time, if you trade like this, your stop loss, I think your stop loss, most of the time, if you trade like this, your stop loss will be either something around here or somewhere around there. And of which, if you find out that as a smart trader you are, there's no way your stop loss can be bigger than your TP. I don't know if you're making sense. So for me, I basically don't trade like this. I don't know if I'm making sense. I basically don't trade like this. Most of the time, this sort of trading strategy always align together with your, I think it should be your zero point 0.5 of your Fibonacci. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. And please, mind you guys, please, I'm just trying to teach you guys how it looks like. But if you want to trade it, good and fine, you can also trade it. But for me, I don't trade like this. Guys, I don't know if I'm making sense. Good. That's just it. Please, if you come across this YouTube channel, I want you to subscribe, like, and share. Cheers up, guys. And have a nice day.